Welcome back to the 1994 Formula 1 World Season, where Round 2 takes place at Autopolis for the 1994 Pacific Grand Prix. This is a brand new venue for Formula 1 to go to. They haven't actually gone outside of tracks like Fuji Speedway and Suzuka, so this is an entirely new experience for both the teams and drivers alike. It'll be interesting to see how they cope with this 4.6km circuit. Before we head into the race for the weekend, let's take a look at last week's news headlines that came from Interlagos. In case you missed last week's racing action, then we can summarize it with the news headlines from this race, as Patrese had an absolutely dominant Brazilian Grand Prix. He was 30 seconds ahead of Damon Hill last time out, and with them having such a dominant outing in the first race of the season, the question remains to see if anyone can actually topple them during the rest of the season. One thing to also take note of is the fact that the upgrades should be coming in after this round of the season, so the top teams will likely be developing towards Williams, and the midfield is going to be pretty much the Wild West in terms of upgrades. And hopefully we'll see some of the lower end teams like Pacific, Simtek and Peugeot. Hopefully they'll be able to bring some upgrades along the way as well. Additionally, there's been some questions raised about whether Autopolis will be here for the long term, or whether it will just be a one-off for this year, as the financial situation that surrounds the circuit is not really good. If they can find the funding for it, they might return on the 95 calendar, but if not, some other tracks like Fuji Speedway and possibly even Okayama can take Autopolis' place on the calendar. And with the news all rounded up, the only thing left to do before the race is to take you around a lap of Autopolis. A very, very long front stretch is what greets you to start the lap, as you now prepare to look into the inside of the first turn, that's actually what it's called, brake roughly around 100 meters, turn in for the corner, apex it, come out of it, and stay a little bit wide for the kink of turn 2, and prepare for one of the more technical sections on the track already. Turn 3, a pretty fast right-hander actually, and then immediately 2 left kinks follow up, before following up with the first hairpin turn, as that's literally just what it's called. Get the power done as soon as you can, and then keep it going. Keep to the right for turn 7, which is literally just called 100R. I don't know why it's called that, probably because of the radius. Keep to the right through turn 9. Here's one of the tricky parts of the track, turn 10, up an uphill hairpin that crests just away from you as you go around it, and then you're back down through the roller coaster straight, and now aiming to get past turn 11. Keep your foot down as best you can through here. Make sure not to give up any inch of confidence as you go through now turn 12, turn 13, and now into turn 14. They really do call this track a roller coaster for a reason. As you now exit turn 15, keep to the right hand side just a little bit, and then right around the outside. Now through the quote final turn of turn 17, and then through the actual final turn of turn 18, and that will be a lap off Autopolis. In the end, that lap turned out to be a 1 minute 21.4. I don't think that will get us too high up on the grid if we were actually qualifying, and there's only one way to find out about that, is to see where everyone else qualified for the Grand Prix. Let's see how the drivers line up for the 1994 Pacific Grand Prix. It's a Williams front row lockout with Hill leading Patrese by just about 0.2 of a second. Behind them is Ayrton Senna, and he's joined in the second row by Michael Schumacher. The third row consists of Schumacher's teammate Martin Brundle and Senna's teammate of Johnny Herbert. Not much gap in between them. It's a Ferrari fourth row with Alesi beating Berger by 0.3 at lineup P7. And behind them is a Ligier lockout for row 5. Neto gained hedge over his inexperienced teammate of Olivier Panis. Roberto Moreno did an excellent qualifying session to line up P11, as did Carl Weinlinger lining up P12 just ahead of his teammate, of Rubens Barrichello. Häkkinen lines up 14th ahead of Pedro Lamy. He is the lead Lotus driver for this season. Heinz Alfredson could only manage 16th place, not good compared to his teammate of Roberto Moreno. Christian Fittipaldi meanwhile lines up P17 ahead of his teammate Aguri Suzuki. Then it's Mark Blundell for the Toro Yamaha squad. A good qualifying by their standards to line up 19th ahead of Gianni Morbidelli and the Bernardi. 11th row on the grid consists of Christophe Bouchou and Yukio Katayama. Then following behind them is Thierry Boutsen and Luca Badoa, not a good qualifying for the Italian. Eric Bernard lines up 25th, and David Coulthard for the Pacific team will line up 26th, knocking out not only Gilles Defert and his teammate, but Philippe Alliot in the Oval Larousse. Running on the last of the non-qualifiers are the two Simtex of Rattenberger and Verstappen. And with all that now out of the way, it's time to go racing. The lights are starting to come on, the refs are starting to rise. The 1994 Pacific Grand Prix has now gotten underway. Everyone seems to be getting off the line well. Damon Hill still holds the lead from Ricardo Tracy. He's coming under pressure a bit from Ayrton Senna. Let's see what will happen here as they go into turn 1. Contact between the two Williams drivers. Damon Hill spun around. He's going to drop way down the order. And I think Ricardo Tracy may drop down a couple of places as well. Let's get a camera on him now. Yes, Ricardo Tracy has now dropped down to 6th place. Who's leading this Grand Prix? I have no idea. It's Ayrton Senna now, leading from both Benettons. What a chaotic start it has already been to the 1994 Pacific Grand Prix. Here's a replay on board right now with that's not Damon Hill, that's Ricardo Tracy. But we can confirm that Damon Hill has now dropped to 16th as they go into turn 1. I'm not sure who's to blame at that. We'll get on board with Senna here shortly, but I think Hill might have just squeezed Tracy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's to blame there. It might just be a racing incident. But either way, those Williams have dropped way back, and it'll be a hard task for them to catch back up to Senna. But Hill's certainly going to try now. He's looking to the inside, or I believe that's Olivier Panis. He's also got past one of the Tills there, or I think that was Mark Blundell. I'm not entirely sure. But now Hill up into 13th place. Good recovery drive for him already, as that's one of the Lotuses going up the inside of that Till. I believe that's Mika Hakkinen now. Indeed it is. Mika Hakkinen is now up to 15th place. There are fights every which way you look around this track. There's one happening right in front of Christophe Bouchou between one of the Lotuses and Saubers. And there goes Christophe Bouchou. He's about to have a fight with his engine manufacturer. And that will mean that Christophe Bouchou is the first of timers of the Pacific Grand Prix. No, LaRousse Castle will make it to the end of this race. Meanwhile, Ricardo Pastriti now hunting on the back of John O'Lacey for 4th place, going to the inside of turn 1, and he gets the move done. Ricardo Patrese already fighting right back. He could still be a contender for this race. He's now up to 4th position. There we are, looking right, here he goes a lap. And now his suspension has collapsed. I think that might be from the contact from Damon Hill on lap 1. But either way, Ricardo Patrese is not going to make it to the end of this race. That could be huge for the championship. Meanwhile, Damon Hill has now worked himself up to the top 10. We missed some of his moves he made on the camera, but he's looking for P9 now, and he easily gets it. The Renault power very clearly better than the Ilmore powered Sauber. Hill now up into P9, and he'll keep on chasing everyone else down. The earliest pit stop we have on this lap is lap 11, I think, and that's JJ Leto coming into the pits. Let's see where he comes out on track now. Here he is now exiting the pit lane. That's one of the Lotuses going by. It's P12 on track for JJ Leto. He could be on a pre-stop for this race. Attention turns to once the front again. Ayrton Senna is struggling to get past the Pojo. I think that's Eric Bernard, I'm not sure. And that's put Martin Brundle right up behind him. He couldn't make a move here coming into this turn. He sends it up the inside. Will he be able to make the move stick on Senna? Yes, he is, just about. So Martin Brundle now takes the lead of the Pacific Grand Prix. But how long can he hold on to it? We know Senna isn't one to give up a fight easily. So we'll see here now, as we go on to lap 15, Ayrton Senna now slips into the back of Martin Brundle. He ducks back inside. I think Martin Brundle will have to move. No, he doesn't. He slips wide, and Ayrton Senna says, "Thank you very much. I'll be taking that place away from you." Looking back on a replay here, there might have been actually a little bit of contact between Brundle and Senna. Let's take it on board from Ayrton Senna now as they go into turn 1. I think he does give him a little bit of a nudge, but I don't think it'll be enough to get him penalised. But they might give him a warning for that though. Lap 18 now. Let's run through the race classification as things stand right now. So Senna leads for Martin Brundle, and Michael Schumacher rounds off the podium. Damon Hill, meanwhile, has made up 11 places since the first lap incident. He's now up into P5. So Weber Marino actually up in the 7th place, but I think he is due to make a pit stop soon enough. Senna, meanwhile, has been running away from Brundle at a rate of knots ever since passing him. So this could actually be really important for Senna. He could win this race. The 4 retirees of this race are David Coulthard and Carl Rendlinger, the 2 new people who have recently retired, as well as Ricardo Patrese and Christophe Bouchou, which you've both mentioned earlier on. As now we look at Christian Fittipaldi, he's been having a quietly good race, but that all comes to a head on lap 20. He retires again from an engine-related issue, the Mugen Honda giving up the ghost. Meanwhile, here's Damon Hill looking to the inside now of John O'Lacey going to turn 1. Again, Williams, Renault and engine power providing him with another position gain. Oh! And that's one of the Legiers that O'Lacey has collided with. I couldn't tell who that was, but O'Lacey's now missing a front wing. And I see a wheel rolling across the track, so I think it's Olivier Panis who was involved in that as well. Collided with, I think, the footwork of Aguri Suzuki, and just did a really bad rejoin there. Nothing O'Lacey could have done, and that's Olivier Panis out of the Pacific Grand Prix. That took me by surprise. As we now move on to lap 23, here's Hill looking to try and pass Madden Brundle. Wasn't able to do so there, but he might try and make a move up into the next corner. It's not going to work out though, not unless Brundle leaves a gap up the inside, and Damon Hill thoroughly fills that gap, and now up into P3. A brilliant move from the British driver, asserting his dominance upon Martin Brundle. Meanwhile, Ayrton Senna now comes in for his first of 2 pit stops. Then this will hand the lead to Michael Schumacher in the other Benetton. If he's going for a 1 stop, then this is played beautifully into his own hands. No, he's not actually going for a 1 stop. He pits on the very next lap, so that will give the lead right back to Ayrton Senna. This race is still not anywhere close to being concluded yet, though Senna now has a 15-second gap to Martin Brundle, who is now taking back 2nd place from Michael Schumacher. It's still all to play for, and don't forget, Damon Hill can still throw up a bit of a fight here as well. Now on to lap 35. Martin Brundle tries to go up the inside of, I think that was Luca Badoa. Can't make the move stick, and he falls down to 3rd place. Michael Schumacher now inherits the 2nd place spot. Let's see on board. Martin Brundle just tries to get past Badoa, but forces it too much and makes contact with Badoa. Meanwhile, the Peugeots are reporting of fuel shortages for unknown reasons. I'm not sure what that's all about, but there goes Eric Bernard. He's the 2nd Peugeot to retire, and it's also of fuel issues, so that Peugeot engine might be a little fuel thirsty. As Senna now into the pits on lap 40, this now gives the lead to both Benetton drivers, but more importantly, as Ayrton Senna comes out in 3rd, in the background you can see him, Damon Hill is now rapidly approaching Ayrton Senna. He's still yet a bit, mind you, but the gap as it stands right now between those 2 competitors is 4.5 seconds. Ayrton Senna is still not out of the woods yet. Damon Hill can still catch him, even though he's yet to make a pit stop of his own now as well. Well, the 2nd pit stop should be specifically about, as that's the other Legionnaire of Yukiaba that is smoking up now. He's managed to hold up Ayrton Senna, and now Damon Hill could be right behind him at the end of this lap. If Leto does not hold up Damon Hill at all during this lap, Hill might be able to get past him. But word is coming in that lap 45, which is this lap by the way, is Damon Hill's scheduled pit stop. So if he'll give up the chase for now and go into the pits to get new tyres and a new set of fuel onto the car, this will mean that he comes out of the pits behind both Benetton drivers in P4 as it stands right now. So he needs to catch and pass both Benettons and then Ayrton Senna to have a shot of winning this race. Schumacher's not going to make it easy for him though. He's been catching Senna every single lap that he's been on track, and he could be on course for a win here, but his engine says otherwise. Michael Schumacher is out of the race with just a handful of laps left to go. Well, not really a handful, on lap 46, and Martin Brundle will now inherit 2nd place. There's only 20 more laps to go after this race, but the drivers are dropping like flies. Looking at the race classification, Hill is now up to 3rd, and he is challenging Brundle for everything he's got. Herbert meanwhile is up to 4th place as well. Looking down the 2nd page, Pedro Lamy somehow is up to 7th place. I'm not sure how that's happened. Senna meanwhile is just continuing to do his best and just drive away from the others as best as they can. He knows he can't compete with Damon Hill, but by continuously pushing and pushing and pushing, he hopes that he can create big enough gap to where Damon Hill will not be a threat at all for the rest of this race. And he might not be much of a threat to him, more so of a threat to Brundle, that he has not been able to find a way past the British driver, and we're only on lap 50. Now we're on lap 56. Hill now trying to look up the inside of Brundle, not going to get it done there. He could do it at the next corner though if he has enough power to do so. He looks to the inside of Martin Brundle, sends it up the inside, and Damon Hill will now just about get 2nd place. He now only has Ayrton Senna to pass to win this race, but I'm not sure he's going to do it. The gap might be too big for him. Look at that Ayrton Senna now. He's just cleared a group of back markers. That could also play into the hands of Ayrton Senna as well. As a reminder to the viewers, we are currently on lap 60 and there's only 5 laps left. The gap to Ayrton Senna, 15.6. Hill will need to take 3 seconds per lap out of Ayrton Senna, and I don't think even the Williams car will be able to do that. And so, we're now on the final lap. Ayrton Senna behind the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, but it's not going to matter to him at all. he managed to take advantage of the turn 1 incident between both Williams drivers, and he has kept his foot flat to the floor, and he has never looked back since. Hey, Ayrton Senna now comes across the line and he wins the 1994 Pacific Grand Prix. A fantastic drive from the Brazilian, and that might put him into the lead of the World Championship. A look at the official results after 65 laps. It is indeed Ayrton Senna taking the win by 10 seconds over Damon Hill, who just couldn't catch him towards the end. Madden Bono rounds out the podium, with your other points finishers being Johnny Herbert for McLaren, and the two Ferraris of Berger and Alesi round out the points paying positions. Only 13 people actually made it to the checkered flag in the end, and also once again, a fair majority of the retirements from this race were mostly engine related issues. The only ones I could really think of were both promoters who had fuel related issues, though out of context of the actual racing itself, that happened because of an AAW bug that I didn't see in foresight. Apologies for the people who thought Joe, I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Either way, the big scalp from all this is Riccardo Patrese not finishing the race. We'll look at the Drivers and Constructors Championship in just a moment, but I'd imagine that has had an impact on it, and indeed it has. Ayrton Senna has a 2-point lead over Damon Hill in the Drivers Championship, and that could be huge, as upgrades could be coming in from the McLaren team as soon as the next race, and only time will tell. We'll see if they actually do improve or not. In the Constructors, Williams have a 5-point lead over McLaren. The only other 4 teams have scored points so far are Ferrari with 6, Benetton with 4, which was on this race, Lotus with 2, and Footwork with just 1 point. And that is all from us here at the Pacific Grand Prix here at Autopolis. Next time we will be at Donington Park for the second running of the European Grand Prix, which will be held at Donington Park. Until then, I've been KyoKiri46, and until next time, goodbye.